Hi, thanks for tuning in to Armor of God again. And as always, thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time to be here with us, and hopefully you'll also learn a lot from this video as well. Now, I'd like to let you know in advance that I'm going to share a clip of a house haunting shortly, and for those of you who don't like to watch it, please skip ahead. But it's part of the 3 case studies, if I can call it that way, for the video this time. So I've shared a while back about the Indian family and has been under attack by the evil spirits sent by their former maid. It started probably 2 years ago, and the situation turned out so bad that the husband had to send his wife and son back to India while he's living alone in Dubai, out of fear for the safety of the wife and kid. So here we can really see how these things can really put families in misery, exhaustion, desperation, fear. We hear priests talking about these hauntings, but it's not when we see it happening to real families out there that we can really see the devastating impact these things cause on the family, mentally and physically, especially when they're clueless on how to deal with it, as they're not Christians to begin with. Let me share you a brief clip of what took place.
That's sweet. I just woke up and there was some sound over here. But it's very strange that lights are on now. Normally there's no activities during the night, but I could hear some sound. Oh God. The haunting has begun. The door just opened.
And I forgot to mention that in that 3 a.m. attack that you've just watched, according to him, during that time the lights are not working while the other electrical appliances in the house are all fine. He's documenting these things in the form of videos to share and ask for help, advice, and guidance from others because he's so clueless what to do about the whole thing.
You know, there's constantly buzzing in my ears, constantly. It's like constantly somebody is like talking all nonsense in my ears. Initially I tried putting the earbuds in my ears to, as you guys suggested, for the noise cancelling. Unfortunately I got the fungal ear infection now, because I come late at night, I take bath and I straight away go to sleep. I'm having a same dream over and over again every night, and just terrorizes me. I'm kind of a bit terrified, and more than that I'm shocked for what actually I've discovered right now. I think it's because of the black magic, and I had to find where it's been hidden. The problem is the everything was like whatever things has happened in the old apartment. So I was like a bit confused, like where can I actually go and find the black magic, because
I covered the subject of curses with Father Winston before, and he provided a lot of good explanations as well as what to do about it during the interview. In fact, I specifically cited what happened to this Indian family with him because I really feel sorry for what's happening to them. One can argue that he's lying, but would you really if he had to actually send his family back home to India while he's there home alone, away from the family? At least that's how I see it. Anyway, remember the maid that I mentioned earlier who sent curses to this family? Well, it turns out the maid really did leave something behind. Check this out.
okay, you see there's actually a whole maid over here. Okay, and I was just trying to investigate like what was actually the damage, and I found a lump over here. Okay, over here I found a lump, so I just tried to stick out my hand inside. I'm not gonna touch it because it's kind of there's some bones and What actually I can see here is this is my razor blade. You can see this there's even what you call that, the rusting in that. It's a bit old. So my razor blade has been tied completely to the bones. Okay, I don't want to. This is like my one shot in preventing whatever is happening with me. So I'm just going to take this everything as it is to the priest, and I'm just going to give it to him, and hopefully he knows what he can do with this.
Okay, now after watching all that, and they are now fine, his wife and son are now back living with him, and nothing happened ever since that bone and razor were removed from the house. Anyway, listen to this brief explanation from Father Winston. This will help to put things into perspective on the whole thing. Listen to this.
That is why often witches and curses, before they send curses, they try to divine first to see whether the person is protected or not. If the person is protected, they would not dare to send the curse. Because the curse, the demon that you will send, would come back and wreak havoc on the sender. So if a particular person, let's say a particular person is protected by the grace of God, the witch will not send the curse, because God is the one that protects the person, and the demon will come back with a vengeance, retaliate against the witch and the one who paid for the witch. Now, if the person is protected by an amulet, by a talisman, or by a higher evil spirit, the demon will also not come in, because it will not be able to do what its intended action be, because there is a protecting evil spirit.
Now remember, in the last video, we have covered together a little bit on the demonic infestation that's happening in people's homes. And in that video, I also shared a brief clip, the conversation that took place in the movie Nefarious. Let me share this again with you, and then I'll share the later part of the explanation from Father Winston. Listen to this for a moment.
When did you possess Edward?
It doesn't work that way. Can't just possess someone. We need a series of yeses.
So you're saying it's a
Of course
process?
it's a process.
How does it work?
It's complicated.
Try me. I'm smarter than you think.
You're smarter than I think. Okay, James. We offer up a series of temptations, gradually increasing in terms of duration and intensity, degree of moral inequity. Absence of baptism in this case allowed us to begin work long before the age of reason. At 3, age of 5, maybe a theft of a toy car can do a great deal. Then we move on to bigger and better things. At 8, grandmother's gift of a Ouija board gave us immediate access to his decision-making, so we began steering them without him ever calling into question exactly who was doing the steering. Enough yeses and few enough nos gave us increasing rights over the victims, physical and mental processes. Did that track, James?
It seems random, almost, unfocused.
Well, that's what we want you to think. We have a level of focus beyond your comprehension. As a matter of fact, everybody around him, friends, family, they didn't even notice the changes. It happened so incrementally. They just thought it was Eddie being Eddie. We knew exactly what we were doing, when, where, and how he was giving consent, and the exact moment that we achieved each new degree of control.
Degree?
Control host body comes in degrees. They're stages, each with its own name and characteristics.
And those are?
From top to bottom, extreme temptation, obsession, infestation, finally possession, subjugation.
And Edward Wayne
Fully
Brady is...
subjugated. That's why we're having this conversation. Yes,
Now in that clip we've just listened to, the demon talked about the process of putting someone under their control to possess them eventually. So with that in mind, listen to this explanation by Father Winston.
But in our view, in the exorcism ministry, it's not actually that the evil spirit will not, that the evil spirit of the curse will not do its part, but actually the spirit already guiding the person is already telling the spirit, this person is already ours, don't disturb. We will work together against the person at the appropriate time. So this is where you find persons with amulets, persons with talismans, thinking that they are protected, but that is illusory. in reality, what happens is that this amulet, or the spirit that controls the amulets, is telling other spirits, this is already mine. We will work on him later on. When he is weak, then we will work in his life. We will work against him, etc. He will get sick. He will like, this is how it is. This is how it works. So, your question on why these amorous potions work, really, because the persons that are victimized by it have already spiritual openings. And once you have spiritual openings, yeah, you're able to send curses on that person.
And now let's get on to the second case study. It's also got to do with the hauntings that took place in people's home, and the explanation this time will come from Father Vincent Lampert instead. Let me share you this clip of the father telling us what happened before.
Because she's always sensed that there was something there. And she's not the only one. I've my other kids, my brother-in-laws, when they've stayed, they've said that they've seen a little boy in here before. And I actually had somebody come over and kind of bless the house. Now, I was wondering, like you said, and Elijah were talking about blessing her bed or room. I got some rosaries hanging in there from when I went to my retreat. Now, does that have a significance if we haven't gone to confession, which I just went last week, but if you have sin and you go in, does that count?
I would say that, again, if we've sinned, if you haven't been to confession, but your intention is to go as soon as you can, then I think you're okay. But I do think it's important to be in a state of grace yourself if you're going to go in and offer a prayer of blessing. I will say, if you believe that there's some type of presence in your home, then you should have a priest come into your house and offer a very specific exorcism prayer. So there is a very specific prayer that a priest can say in a home that's troubled by evil spirits or a restless spirit, if you will. So if there's a spirit of a little boy or whatever that you said that may be present. So it's not just having the priest come in and say kind of a generic house blessing. You need a very specific blessing because you believe that there's some type of presence or entity in your home. And ultimately, whether it's the demonic entity or the restless spirit, it doesn't need to be there.
All these years were like my son, one time he came home and he asked my mother-in-law lives here, but that he wanted to come and play, that he had a friend that I guess, and she was like, oh, no, she locked the door. She's like, nope. And she got scared. And there was another time when we went to the mall and my brother-in-law was here with his wife, and our son went with us. But she said that she went to the bathroom and there's like 3 doors. The one in the middle is the bathroom, and the 2 on the sides is our room and my daughter's room now. But when they were walking there, she noticed off the side it was a little boy. She thought it was our son Adam standing there. She's like, oh, hi, Adam. And she went into the bathroom. When she came out, she's like, I didn't know Adam was here. Mm-hmm. And they're like, Adam's not here. Adam took off with us, and he was with us. So that's why I've always said that it's a boy. I've never seen it, but then my wife always says that evil won't hunt evil. That's what she says. But I think I'm the most faithful one here, and my wife too. And I've been trying to get everything I can done to get closer to God. And so I've never noticed anything at any time of the night, day, but everybody else has. So is that something that I should be worried about, or like me, since I've never seen that?
Well, the fact that you haven't seen it, again, if you're strong in your faith, that's probably why you haven't seen it. If they're not as strong, it could be then whatever that entity is. And again, it could be some type of demonic entity that's trying to cultivate some type of relationship with family members. That's why I would ask a priest to come in and to offer an exorcism prayer in the home. And again, there are specific prayers that can be prayed. And if the priest doesn't know what prayer to say, I send that prayer out to all kinds of priests all over the country. So I'm happy to do that. But it's not just a house blessing from the Book of Blessings. It really is a very specific prayer it has to do. And sometimes people, if they're experiencing something in their home, they may do some investigation and try to figure out, is there any type of history in the home? There was a a house I went to bless one time in the city of Indianapolis, and actually the whole neighborhood told me that they could see a father and a mother and three children, and the kids they knew the names of the children and all of that. It was a new subdivision. And when we did some research, we found out that on that site 100 years ago was an old farmhouse where the family had been murdered. And the people didn't know the history, but they actually knew the names of these entities. It was the family members that were killed in the house. So before even knowing the history, they could tell you the names of the people who died. And then after offering this very specific prayer, there was no longer any presence of these spirits, if you will.
And the third one is going to be on love potions. Now, love potions these days are very accessible and popular, as the world is somehow more open to the occult, practicing witchcraft, etc. There's even news a few years back where love potions are quite prevalent in Mexico. And then in certain places in Europe, Southeast Asia, even Singapore, Korea, China. Now the reason I'm saying this is to show that it's not specific to one location or people. It's all over the world because, as Father Carlos Martin said many times before, the world is becoming pagan. And that is why I want to include this bit about the love potions in this video as well. Now there's a so-called witch who talked about the supposedly effectiveness of the love potion or spell. It's quite a short clip, but I'll share a follow-up clip of Father Winston talking about it after this.
The truth is, love spells are always 80%. It gives you the 80% chance of attracting that person into your life. The 20% is the rule and the desire of what else you have created within another reality. So the whole point of a spell or a love spell is to increase your chances and your frequency of already experiencing that individual within your reality. So either way, love spells are very powerful. It increases your chances of getting someone you desire in your life back into your life. And it increases your chances of gaining someone even better than what you thought you deserved.
So like I said, it was a fairly short clip, and I don't want to share any more than necessary. But what I'd like to do now is share this one from Father Winston instead.
And in fact, even in the guidelines set by the International Association of Exorcists in the published book, they made mention of the ways curses are delivered. And one of those categories is the amorous curse, that is for love. And then what is being done. And so there are various methods of being done. And yes, you're right in what you say, that this is what is being done, like frogs or whatever. And how would you solve the problem? Okay, amorous potions that is intended either to destroy existing love relationships or to bond new relationships are difficult to solve, especially if carnal relations is concerned. So once carnal relations happens, is consumed, you enter into a level of sin that is contaminated with occult spirits. So it's difficult because you now have really sexual relationship, and it binds it. The demon of lust binds it, as it were, because of that sexual relationship. That is the reason why it's so, even in human relationship, without these potions and curses and everything, that in extramarital relationships or relationships outside of sacramental wedlock or outside of marriage, you find it difficult to get out of it, precisely because there is a unholy soul tie that occurs, a holy soul tie that is difficult, and it's a sinful relationship. So that's how we understand it. Okay. Now, if there is no sexual relationship yet, it's easy to break the curse. But the next question is, Father, are we all prone to this kind of curse? No, the answer is no. Again, the thing that needs to be asked is remember, this is a curse. And therefore, when you talk about curses, according to the way the International Association of Exorcists understand curses, is that you send a demon, an evil spirit, on a person. It's the thing there, the rituals, the frogs, as you say, these are just mediums, as it were. But what is actually being done is that you are sending a demon to a particular person. If the person is protected by grace, by God, then the curse will not come in.
Anyway, those are 3 case studies that I want to share with you this time. I hope you've enjoyed this new format, and if you like this new approach where I provide real-life case studies and link them with the explanation provided by the priests, please let me know in the comments below. I feel this will be useful in our learning and helps us to relate better to what the priests are sharing with us. Well then, that will be all for the video this time. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, and hopefully all of you have learned so much from this video. And remember, if ever you have any feedback or suggestion, please let us know in the comments below. Anyway, if you like what we do and you'd like to support us, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your continuous support, contributions, and prayers. And until the next one, thanks again for watching, and may God bless you.
Items that can be used in a negative sense. So when we talk about demonic infestation, it's not just in a location, but it can be associated with an object. So there are objects that can be used to advance what the devil is trying to do. So you think of voodoo or witchcraft, think of people that use magic wands, think of Ouija boards, voodoo dolls. You know, there's a lot of things that are that can be used in a negative sense. So those things are very much real. Now, if an item has the presence of evil with it, the question I would ask is the object inherently evil? Meaning, obviously, if it's a voodoo doll, it's inherently evil. But it is possible for a regular object, perhaps, to have a curse placed upon it. It may not be inherently evil, but because of the curse placed upon it, it's bringing about the presence of the demonic. And in that case, that object simply could be blessed to return it to its original state, if you will. But something that's inherently evil should always be destroyed. And again, think of things, the Ouija board, a magic wand, tarot cards, again, things like that.